There's an internal rule Walmart employees get told during their very first week on the job, but almost no customer has ever heard of it. It's sitting right there on the price tag every time you stand in front of a shelf, in how a stolen bottle of dish soap gets handled, and in a coupon policy hardly any cashier will bring up on their own. You'd be awesome if you subscribed and liked this video. One owned by the richest family on the planet. Most people don't realize Walmart isn't just some faceless public company. The bulk of the shares still sit in the hands of a single family. The Walton family, descendants of founder Sam Walton, is now considered the richest family in the world, adding billions of dollars to their net worth every year just from dividends and stock price gains. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of employees working the registers, standing in lines, and pushing carts across the parking lot still start out at fairly modest pay. The company has been criticized more than once for prioritizing shareholder dividends over raising worker pay to $15 an hour, a rate plenty of competitors adopted a long time ago. Picture an employee working 40 hours a week at entry-level pay, still counting every dollar for gas money, while company profits keep climbing quarter after quarter. Some workers have been there for a decade, stocking shelves on the night shift, and their pay still only creeps up a few dimes a year after performance reviews. You can see this for yourself just by comparing the company's quarterly profits to how slowly wages actually move on the employee pay stub. Knowing this won't change the price you pay at checkout, but it changes how you look at their discount policies. Every dollar you save usually comes from cutting operating costs somewhere, not from some kind of generosity. Understanding this helps you shop with clearer eyes instead of feeling grateful for promotions that were already calculated to keep the company profitable, whether or not the person behind the register sees any of that benefit. 2. Old bread still gets sold, just cheaper. Ever notice the discount bread section near the exit? That's not spoiled bread getting thrown away. It's bread close to its sell-by date, repackaged and sold for less, sometimes as low as $1 a loaf, while the same bread on the main shelf can run $3 or $4. Instead of tossing out thousands of loaves every day, Walmart marks them down to cut food waste and recover at least some of the revenue. As far as quality goes, the bread is still perfectly fine to eat for a few more days if you store it right. It's just not oven fresh anymore. A lot of larger families use this bread for garlic toast or bread pudding, dishes that don't need peak freshness but still taste great. Some people slice it up and freeze it the moment they get home, keeping it good for a whole month in the freezer without losing flavor. Just thaw it and toast it like normal. This is honestly one of the easiest money-saving tricks around that barely anyone pays attention to because most people instinctively avoid the discount section, worried it means old or bad products. If your family goes through a lot of bread, swing by that section in the evening, right after staff mark down the day's batch. That's when you'll find the most options. You might only save a small amount each week, but it adds up over the month, sometimes $15 or $20 if your family goes through several loaves a week, enough to cover another household bill. Walmart doesn't advertise this section loudly because they don't want you thinking anything's wrong with their full-price bread, even though the only real difference between the two is timing. But the story behind Walmart's low prices doesn't stop at old bread. There's another secret tied to the very hands that make the products on the shelf, and it's enough to make plenty of people think twice before tossing something into the cart. 3. Cheap labor behind some products. This is probably the least talked about secret on this list. Part of Walmart's supply chain was once exposed for links to cheap labor from the private prison system, where inmates were paid as little as $2 an hour to work on farms, harvesting fruits and vegetables that end up at the retail chain. Compare that to the current federal minimum wage, and it's not even a third of it, while the farm work itself is grueling and stretches on for hours, often starting before sunrise under a harsh sun. Similar practices have also been reported at certain factories in China, where workers put in up to 14-hour days under brutal conditions, lacking basic labor safety standards, with many facilities missing even proper ventilation. The reason these supply chains exist is simple. Cheap labor keeps grocery prices competitive and boosts profit margins for shareholders. You won't see any of this on the label because current law doesn't require companies to disclose where the labor came from at every stage of production. What you can do is pay attention to fair trade certifications or clearer sourcing labels if this matters to you, especially with prepackaged vegetables or out-of-season imported fruit, the products with the longest and hardest to trace supply chains. Not every item on the shelf is tied to this issue, but knowing the risk exists helps you shop with more awareness instead of just looking at a low price without ever asking why it's so low. 4. The dollar deals are built to keep you shopping. The dollar section near the entrance isn't there by accident. Dollar bread, dollar shampoo, dollar deodorant, gift cards, and greeting cards usually fall into this price range too. This is a classic marketing strategy called a loss leader, something that gets you through the door for one cheap item and gets you walking out with a full cart of things that weren't even on your list. Most items in the dollar section barely turn a profit at all, and sometimes the company takes a small loss just to keep a steady flow of shoppers coming in every week. The clever part is where these items get placed, usually near the main entrance or right by the checkout lines, forcing you to walk past a bunch of other shelves before you even reach them. Shelves stocked with snacks, soda, batteries, and convenience items priced way higher than what you originally came in for. Just one $2.50 bag of candy and a $1.80 soda tossed into the cart along the way, and your total has quietly climbed almost $5 above what you plan to spend. If you only need one specific item from this section, go straight to it and head out. Don't let yourself get pulled along the winding path the store laid out for you. On the other hand, if you're restocking everyday personal care items, this section is worth checking first, since the prices really are noticeably cheaper than buying the same thing individually off the regular shelves, sometimes close to double the price for the same size. 5. They call the cops instead of handling security themselves. Ever notice some Walmart stores have an unusually high number of police calls compared to other retail chains of the same size? It's not because those areas are more dangerous. It's because internal policy encourages employees to call the police even over minor theft, a $3 pack of tissues, or a loaf of near-expired bread walked out without being paid for. That sounds extreme, but for the company, calling the police is a lot cheaper than investing in a professional in-house security team across thousands of stores nationwide. The cost of handling it gets shifted onto public resources while the company saves a large chunk of money on hiring its own security staff. As a result, local police departments in some areas have spoken up about how often they get called to Walmart, with some locations logging several calls a day from a single store, pulling resources away from more serious situations, like actual car accidents or emergencies that genuinely need immediate response. For you, this doesn't hit your wallet directly, but it explains why you sometimes see police show up over an item worth almost nothing. Knowing this keeps you from being caught off guard, and it's also a reminder to hang on to your receipt while shopping, in case there's confusion at the security checkpoint even though you paid for everything. One small tip: snap a photo of your digital receipt the moment you leave the register in case the exit scanner glitches and an employee needs to double-check your cart. Next up is a policy a lot of online shoppers miss entirely, a small trick that can save you both time and money on every order. 6. Free shipping hidden behind one specific number. If your online order hits $35 or more, Walmart ships it to your home for free. No membership required, but if your order falls short of that, don't rush to pay extra for shipping. There's a lesser-known option called Ship to Store, which lets you pick up your order free of charge at any nearby location no matter how much you spent. What's even more interesting is that online prices sometimes run lower than what's on the shelf in store thanks to separate online promotions. Some items are off by a few dimes. Others by a full $1 or more, like a box of laundry detergent priced at $8.97 in store but only $7.48 when ordered online at the same time. Put those two things together and you can end up paying less for an item than you would in person without paying a cent for shipping. For families living far from a shopping center, this is basically the fastest way to bundle small weekly orders into a single pickup, saving on both driving time and gas money, which is especially helpful for older shoppers who'd rather not make multiple trips a week. Walmart doesn't heavily promote the ship-to-store option because they'd rather you pay for shipping or add another item just to hit that $35 threshold. Now that you know, you have every right to pick whatever option saves you the most, instead of buying something you don't need just to reach free shipping. 7. The price war works in your favor. Not many people realize the fierce competition between major retail platforms actually works out well for consumers, but it really does. When a big e-commerce competitor drops the price on something to pull in shoppers, Walmart usually responds almost immediately by adjusting its own price, sometimes going even lower to keep its regulars from switching over. This back and forth happens constantly behind the scenes, rarely turning into a big publicized campaign. For you, that means before buying anything of real value, from electronics to home goods, spending a few minutes comparing prices across the major retailers can save you a meaningful amount. There are certain times of year, especially around big holidays, when the price gap between retailers for the same product can run into tens of dollars, like an air fryer priced at $79 in one place, but only $59 somewhere else the same week, or the same model microwave running $20 apart between two stores. Don't just trust the first discount tag you see. Cross-check before you decide. Opening another browser tab takes less than a minute. This is one of the few secrets where the more you know, the better off you are, because at its core, it's a fight between corporations, and the one who actually comes out ahead is you, the shopper caught in the middle. 8. Keeping the leftover balance from a coupon. This is one of the least talked about policies out there, but it's a huge win if you know how to use it. If you've got a $10 coupon, but your total only comes to $8.35, Walmart lets you keep that $1.65 difference to use on your next shopping trip, instead of losing that leftover amount the way a lot of other retail chains would have you do. This policy isn't posted anywhere obvious at the register. Most shoppers only find out by asking an employee directly or reading the fine print on the coupon itself. To find good coupons, sites like I Heart the Mart or Passion for Savings regularly update lists of printable coupons and weekly promotions, a lot of them covering personal care items, canned food, or baby products. Some weeks you can stack up to a dozen different coupons in a single trip. If you're shopping regularly for a large family, spending 15 minutes a week checking these sites is well worth it, since the money you build up from leftover coupon balances can add up to a solid amount over a few months. Some families report saving $30 or $40 a month just from this habit alone, enough to cover another small shopping trip. Don't skip asking the cashier if you're not sure whether your coupon qualifies for the leftover balance policy, since not every coupon type is eligible, and stores sometimes apply the rule a little differently from one location to another. Coming up is a detail sitting right in front of you every time you pick up a product, one almost nobody bothers to actually read, and it can tell you exactly whether that item is worth buying right now. 9. The secret hidden in the last digit of the price tag. Walmart uses a simple coding system that hardly anyone has ever cracked. If the price on a tag ends in the number 7, that's the regular price on a still fresh product, like a pen priced at $2.97. But if the last digit is a 5, that's a signal the item's already been marked down. That same pen might now show $2.35. This isn't a coincidence. It's an internal rule that helps both staff and sharp-eyed shoppers instantly spot which items are being pushed out fast because they've been sitting in inventory too long. Walmart uses this system to keep inventory turning over constantly so products don't sit on shelves too long, taking up space and dragging down efficiency. This is especially useful in seasonal clothing or holiday home goods sections, where old stock needs to clear out fast to make room for new shipments. Winter sweaters, for instance, usually start getting marked with a 5 by the end of February to clear the shelves before spring arrives. Next time you're out shopping, try paying attention to that last digit instead of just glancing at the total price. If you notice several items in the same product line all ending in 5, chances are the whole lineup is about to get replaced with something new, and that's a good time to grab a bargain before it disappears from the shelf entirely. This trick doesn't cost you a thing to use, just a little extra attention every time you pick something up, and it can save you money on nearly every single shopping trip. 10. A free gift box for new parents. If your family just welcomed a new baby, don't skip this one. Walmart offers a completely free baby gift box for new parents. All you have to do is fill out a registration form on the company's website. Inside, you'll usually find pacifiers, diapers, nursing pads, wipes, and sometimes even a bottle, enough for parents to try out before committing to buying a specific brand in bulk. This is a smart move on the company's part because once a baby gets used to a certain diaper or bottle, parents tend to stick with that brand for months afterward, sometimes for the baby's entire first year, a recurring expense every company wants to lock in. For you, this is a chance to cut down on the upfront costs that come with a new baby. A regular large box of diapers usually runs over $30, and you also get to test products before committing to a big box that the baby might not even like, avoiding waste from having to abandon a pack of diapers your baby doesn't take to. This program isn't advertised much on the shelves. Most people find out through word of mouth between parents or by stumbling across it online. If you or someone you know is expecting, take a few minutes to sign up before the baby arrives, since the program sometimes has limited availability per batch, and grandparents can absolutely register on behalf of the family if the parents haven't gotten around to it yet. 11. The rollback section isn't as simple as it looks. Beyond the dollar section and the price tag codes, Walmart runs another pricing tactic called rollback. Those yellow tags on the shelf signaling a temporary price drop from the regular price. What a lot of people don't realize is rollback doesn't always mean the lowest price you'll see all year. Sometimes it's just a short-term repricing move to boost sales on something moving slowly. Not necessarily a huge deal. Some items only drop a few dimes before bouncing right back to the old price within weeks. A bottle of dish soap might get a rollback tag, dropping from $3.97 to $3.68, then quietly return to its old price the moment the promotion ends. That said, when a rollback tag shows up at the same time as a clearance section at the end of an aisle, that's usually a more reliable sign the product is getting discontinued and the price will keep dropping over the coming weeks. It helps to tell these two apart. Rollback is a short-term tactic, while clearance is genuine inventory clearing, usually marked with orange tags or a clear clearance label. If your goal is finding the best deals, walk through the ends of the aisles first. That's usually where the deepest discounts sit, easy to miss since they're tucked away from the main shelves in the center of the store. Get in the habit of checking both sections regularly. It only adds a few extra minutes to each trip, and you'll end up shopping a lot smarter than someone who only pays attention to the bright yellow rollback tags. There's one more secret tied directly to Walmart's own store brand products, quietly holding their own against the big-name brands you're used to buying. 12. Store brands are worth more than you'd think. Great Value covers food items, and Equate covers personal care products. These are Walmart's two in-house brands, and most shoppers still hesitate, assuming store brand means lower quality. That's not really the case. A lot of Great Value products come from the exact same factories as name brand items, just with different labels and packaging. The price is usually a lot lower than the name brand, sometimes half the price for the same amount. A box of name brand cereal is priced at $4.98, while the equivalent Great Value version runs just $2.48. With personal care products like over-the-counter pain relievers, multivitamins, or hygiene products, Equate's active ingredients are nearly identical to the name brand, since FDA regulations require the main ingredients to match in order to guarantee effectiveness. A 500-count bottle of Equate pain relievers runs about $9, while the same count in a name brand can run up to $16. You don't need to apply this rule to everything in your cart, but for fast-moving everyday items like toilet paper, dish soap, or laundry detergent, switching to the store brand can save you a solid amount each month with barely any difference in quality. Personally, I'd say this is one of the easiest tricks to put into practice since you don't have to change your shopping habits at all. Just reach for the product sitting right next to it on the same shelf, and almost every time the difference turns out to be pretty much nothing. 13. The pharmacy saves you more than you think. Hardly anyone thinks of Walmart's in-store pharmacy as a place worth comparing prices, but it's actually where you can save the most on regular medical costs. For prescription drugs, especially common generics for blood pressure, cholesterol, or diabetes, prices here are often more competitive than those at a lot of independent pharmacies in the area, sometimes enough of a gap to make switching your long-term prescription here worth it. Some common generics run about $4 for a month's supply, while the same medication elsewhere can cost $15 or $20. For over-the-counter items like pain relievers, cold medicine, or vitamins, the pharmacy's own store brand is worth considering too. Same formula, but noticeably cheaper than the name brand you're used to grabbing out of habit. If you've got an older family member on long-term medication, ask the pharmacist about their monthly flat-rate generic program. A lot of locations offer a set fee that lets you predict your costs instead of worrying about surprise price hikes between refills. This is probably the least talked about secret on the entire list, since most people just assume healthcare has to be expensive, when really, asking the right question at the right counter can cut a real chunk out of your family's monthly medical budget, money you can put towards something else that needs it more. Before knowing all this, you might have looked at a price tag ending in 5 without ever realizing it was a signal the item was about to disappear, or skipped the ship-to-store option entirely, thinking you needed to hit $35 to avoid paying for shipping. Now that you know, you'll look at the pharmacy counter, the discount bread section by the exit, or that yellow rollback tag a little differently, knowing where it's worth slowing down and where it's just a trick to pull you deeper into the store. If your family's planning a big shopping trip in the next few weeks, the stretch around back-to-school season in August is usually when school supplies and certain home goods here get marked down noticeably lower, so it's worth considering waiting a little before you spend. How many times do you think you've missed out on that leftover coupon balance at the register just because you didn't know you had every right to keep it for your next trip?